Mackinac Island is celebrating a very important anniversary. It's been 150 years since President Ulysses S Grant signed a bill into law creating Mackinac National Park. Take a look. This is the actual bill signed. It comes from the Library of Congress website. It says the bill set by Thomas White Ferry, a bill to set apart a certain portion of the island of Mackinac in the Straits of Mackinac within the state of Michigan as a national park. 2 years after it was introduced, it was signed into law. Mackinac National Park was the second national park in the United States following Yellowstone in Wyoming. The bill set aside more than 50% of Mackinac Island for the enjoyment of the public, where they could enjoy the island's beauty and historical significance. While the park eventually lost its national status, the area is still a state park. To celebrate the 150th anniversary, there are several events happening on the island, and they start today. Joining me this morning is Steve Brisson, the director of Mackinac State Historic Parks. Good morning.
Good morning.
So tell me about this major milestone.
Well, as you noted, it is a major milestone, being the fact that Mackinac Island became the second national park after Yellowstone in 1875. And, a lot of people, of course, know what Yellowstone is and are often surprised to find out that little old Mackinac Island up here at the Straits became the second. And it helped preserve the island. It was a very forward-looking idea at the time. And even though the national park only lasted 20 years, it became Michigan's first state park in 1895. And we've continued that tradition of preservation here at the Straits of Mackinac.
And a lot of people, they don't know that history. So I'm sure that's the point of what the celebration is about as well, to make sure people know this history of Michigan.
Yes, indeed. And it's really enlightening to look back and see those individuals in 1875 who were concerned with overdevelopment and were concerned that the island's popularity had been a popular resort already for decades, was going to be lost because it was being loved too much. And they said, well, here's one way we can protect that by turning it into a national park. And they spoke about the island's natural wonders and historic charm, and this was considered the best way to preserve it.
And so how did it come to be that we lost the status of having a national park?
Well, as noted, when it was founded, it was only the second. There was no National Park Service at the time. And even at Yellowstone, there was really no federal officials to care for the park. But on Mackinac Island, there was a military presence. Fort Mackinac was still here. It had been here since 1780. There were still soldiers at Fort Mackinac. And so officially, the soldiers were put in charge of Mackinac National Park. That became one of their duties here. And then in 1895, the Army, for budgetary reasons, said, Fort Mackinac's got to go. We're closing it. And there went the federal personnel who took care of the park. There was still no Park Service yet. And so it was decided there were two options. Let it just get rid of the park, let it return to just regular federal land, or transfer it to the state of Michigan. And that's what happened.
So how are you celebrating this anniversary?
Oh, a number of events on the island, at Fort Mackinac in particular, throughout the summer, different walking tours and commemorations, and a gala event in August up at Fort Mackinac, where we will celebrate in grand fashion the establishment of the park. We also have a documentary that we produce that's running at the fort every day, and also is available on YouTube about the whole history of Mackinac National Park.
Any particular portion of Mackinac Island's history that you appreciate more than maybe some other details that you like to highlight and tell people about?
Well, I think just what always impresses me about Mackinac is where you can come here and truly get in touch with the past. There are so many physical remnants of Mackinac's long history here. And, it's a very old place, and it has some of the oldest standing structures, not only in the state of Michigan, but in the upper Midwest. The walls and blockhouses of Fort Mackinac, for instance, Michigan's oldest standing church, Mission Church, which is also part of the park, and many other structures. And just so much historic fabric has been preserved here that you don't find in other communities elsewhere in this region.
How can people learn more about the history?
You can start by visiting our website, MackinacParks.com, and that'll get you started. And hopefully plan your visit up to Mackinac Island this summer.
Thank you for joining me this morning. I have never been, and it's one of my goals to get there.
Oh, we would be glad to welcome you here to Mackinac Island State Park.
All right. Appreciate your time this morning. Have a good rest of your day.
You too.